Visible?
Yeah.
All right, great. So hi everyone. Firstly, thank you so much for joining this workshop. Welcome to the Global Summit as a whole. There are a lot of wonderful things going on around. I hope you enjoy all of it and this workshop. So today, I will be starting with the workshop using your inspirations to inspire a new identity for growth. Firstly, who am I? I am Abhishu Karki. I'm 18 years old and I'm from Kathmandu, Nepal. I am a recent high school graduate and am an aspiring college freshman hoping to start my undergraduate in international relations as my major. So there could be a lot of things that I could have introduced myself with today, but I chose to talk about my college classes, which I haven't even started yet. And I don't want to get too philosophical, but I did that because I have noticed this kind of pattern in my life where whenever I'm making a choice, like for right now or for a future decision, then I find myself referring back a lot of the times towards experiences I've had and towards things that have inspired me. And since today is all about this workshop is all about the things that inspire you and how you can use that further uh, in hopefully sharing that knowledge with others. So that is why I just wanted to kind of bring back this pattern that I've constantly realized that I follow in my life. So on that note, I just want to share a small story about my hunt for inspiration and what I'm actually going to talk about today. So, the thing that I will be focusing on today is an initiative that I started with a few of my friends called Briddhi, but there's a story that led us towards just starting this initiative and starting that social to spread our message through social media. So that hunt for inspiration for me, I would say, began in 2018 when I live in Nepal. So in like the education system of our country, after grade 10th we need to choose a certain like educational stream for our further education. Even before like our high school ends, we just need to choose that for our 2 more years of high school. So in while choosing that sub like stream for my further education, I was a bit confused about what to choose because I did not have a certain like I did not have something that I was like dedicatedly passionate towards, that one thing that I would do anything for. And because I didn't have that, it was kind of hard for me to decide, like, because the stream that I chose after that would also kind of define my college education and the career after that. So it kind of was a thought provoking decision for me. And for to make sure that I didn't make like any mistakes in that, I tried the summer break in 2018, before like our classes for grade 11th started. I tried to take on every opportunity and every experience that I could in different aspects, in different fields, so that I could get a little bit of all of it and then decide what works for me. And I tried quiz competitions, in leadership workshops, in Model United Nations. And while doing all of that, I found myself wanting to opportunities. And the first way for me to share those knowledges and share those like things that I learned was in my own personal social media. So like outside of just the things I learned in those workshops, I also constantly found myself like sharing the different informative posts that I find in my social media stories and everything, like a lot of people do right now. And that is really commendable, because for me, when I started doing that, I got a few responses from my friends, and they were like, hey, thanks for sharing that. It was informative. And that kind of message just, helped the part of me that wanted to share information thrive like more and more. And I just wanted to do more of that. I wanted to share the things that I know with the people that I know. And that like I would like to share that in context of this pandemic. Once like the pandemic started, I didn't have a lot to do, so I found myself again like joining in every conference that I could, trying to find every webinar about any topic that I was interested, just join in, be there, listen to them. But uh, with like the as the pandemic and the quarantine period progressed, I found myself trying to search also for opportunities where I could speak and where I could share the knowledge that I had gained so far, rather than just listening to other people and listening to them. Obviously, that part about listening to others and always learning is there, because learning is a process that never stops. But I wanted to share that process with like the learnings that I had with other people's as well. And during this process, like after one of the conferences that I attended, it was like a national conference in Nepal, and a few of my other friends had also attended. And these friends were the same people that I have been working on a certain project since since like a year or something. So uh, I was just having a conversation with them after this one webinar. I think it was a webinar. Yeah, I was just having a conference with them for a conversation with them. Sorry, and then I was just like, that was really cool. I wish I could just do something to make an impact on others as well. And they kind of reflected that same feeling. And at that time, we were like, yeah, we wish we can do something. But that conversation kept on happening like between us for a month or so, and then we decided that we can actually do something, and we started the social media initiative. But obviously that period of starting that conversation and starting the initiative did not just happen with like a click of fingers. There was a lot of things that went into that, and I will talk about that process in this workshop to hopefully help you guys understand that process a little bit more as well. um, yeah, and with that, I just want you guys to right now think about one thing that has inspired you in the recent weeks, and one like thing that you want to share with other people to hopefully inspire them. And you don't have to write it in the chat section right now or anything. I'll come back to this activity later on, because we have another activity which will relate to this. So I just want you guys to keep thinking about it right now as the presentation progresses. And with you guys thinking on that, I want to share something that inspired, uh, you know, the initiative that we talked about, and that initiative that we call Briddhi. Firstly, we kept the name Briddhi because Briddhi means growth in Nepali, and this initiative is just something. I'll not read it out. I just want you guys to read it out if you want. But it is an initiative that we started to hopefully spread a message of positivity and inclusivity, because we noticed that there are a lot of things going on around the world, and a lot of people are talking about it. But there are instances where the actual victims, where the actual people that are going through it are not being able to speak up. There are other people throwing in their opinions, talking about it, but the people who are actually involved in it, are actually going through it, are not getting a platform to talk about it usually. And our platform would obviously not be a huge platform at once, but we just wanted it to be there so that if anyone wanted to share their story, they could. So that was like the first beginning idea of like how we started Riddhi. And this is the team of people that we work. There are six of us, and as you can see, all of us are young people. None of us are like more than college freshmen. So just a quick message out there: if we can do it, then so can you. And I'll be talking about the process of doing it like further as well. But if there is something that actually inspires you, and when something inspires us, we get really fired up. We're like, wow, that was so cool. I want to do something related to that. But then we just let it die down and it just goes away. So if there is something, if you ever just find that spark within you, then act on it. Just, write it down somewhere and look back on it later, but don't let that spark die down, because if we let those small sparks die down, then bigger things will never happen. um, yes, and on that very important note, with the small steps that we took, this is our Instagram page right now, and we have been trying to, you can see different kinds of pictures here. So we've been trying to share the message through artwork and through writing both. So there'll be an artwork relating to the caption, and then we try to share the message through that. um Yeah, and while talking about like our initiative, I also want to talk about SDG for two reasons. Firstly, because right now we are in a summit by MUN Impact with the agenda of driving to action for SDGs. And I think that is a very, very important like agenda to discuss at this moment, especially between us youths, because there is so much more we can do. There is so much potential within us. And if we just, try to do something related to the SDGs, then all of these small things and small steps will definitely help in like bringing a change. um, so our initiative, I'll tell you, firstly, when we started that and even later, I did not think about how it would relate it to SDGs at all. It was not an initiative that we started for the SDGs. However, but like as I thought about it, I realized that it actually is related to the SDG in an indirect way. And that was just like that boosted up my confidence so much more, because even without knowing, I was already helping towards, a goal in some way. And like thinking about the people that are actually working towards that goal by knowing it, uh, that was something that really boosted up my confidence. And for our like initiative Briddhi, the SDGs that relates to it are SDG 16 and SDG 10.2, because both of these are about inclusivity. And there's a lot about inclusivity that goes on to these SDGs. There are about political inclusivities and institutional inclusivities. We have not reached that yet. We would hope to in the future, and we will definitely work for it. But for right now, we are just, promoting that dialogue of inclusivity. And I think just that beginning towards working for a larger goal is something that we can all do. And now, talking about the SDGs, I said the first reason was that. The second reason, however, was that for me, the SDGs that I learned, that I was exposed to because of Model United Nations, is a big part of my journey of getting inspired. It is a big part in me getting exposed to a lot more about what is happening in the world, and learning about how I can get involved in anything at all. And that was kind of also the process about me, just wanting to start Briddhi, because um, that felt like a way for me to, show my passion towards helping someone or just doing something that could make a change. But Model United Nations for me has been more than that. I talked about that first thing, about us referring back to experiences and incidents when making choices. I have found myself referring back to Model United Nations in a lot of different things that I've done. And it has helped me to evolve as a person, like socially and just uh, intellectually, and the different aspects involved in Model United Nations. So I just want to highlight them a little bit while talking about it. The public speaking aspect of it has made me like so articulate. It has helped me know what I'm talking about. The self confidence aspect of it has made me believe in what I am doing and believe in the things that I'm saying. The It has helped me network so much more. I have met people from around the world. I have met people from places that I have never even been to, never even heard of, and have had the opportunity to make so many new friends, to be among like minded individuals. And uh, just have a good conversation with people who are interested in the same things as I am. And definitely the SDGs, because the discussions that we have in Model United Nations about the different things happening in the world, that has really made me a better and a more aware global citizen. But these might seem like the stereotypical things when we talk about Model United Nations, and some of you might even be wondering, what does this have to do about getting inspired or sharing inspirations? Well, that is because for me, Model United Nations has been more than just those things. There are different various roles that come up when we talk about Model United Nations that are not always talked about. In my journey since 2018, I have had the opportunity to explore Model United Nations from the perspective of like different roles. As a delegate, I have learned not just about talking in front of people, but also the basics of research and trying to filter that research, trying to, find out the information that I'm actually looking for in the vast pool that we can find. As an executive board member, I have learned how to be a better commander, how to, be more empathetic and be more uh, like exact about what I'm saying, because there are these group of people who are looking at you and following your lead. So that has definitely helped me in shaping my leadership skills. And as an organizer, I have had the opportunity to explore different aspects, like the financial aspects of organizing an event, the managerial aspects of organizing an event, and the like the overall management thing about managing a team, leading a team, looking at the details, focusing on the details, being responsible for your actions. So these kind of different roles and different skills that I learned from Model United Nations were very helpful in me starting Briddhi and just working on the different aspects of Briddhi that I could have worked on. Um, so I will just talk about how Briddhi came to be, and I will break this part into three different sections so that it'll be easier for you guys to relate and connect that to any other different initiatives that you might be thinking of. Because for me, it was an Instagram page and it was posting stories of different people. It was sharing the message of inclusivity. For you, it could be something completely different. It could be about it could be about uh, climate action, or it could be about some other totally different SDG. So while I will try to keep these points and this process like generic enough to hopefully help you relate to that in your own way. Firstly, talking about the beginning. So, as I talked about Model United Nations and the skills that it gave me, it also, along with the skills, gave me friends, gave me networking, and gave me experiences. I have mentioned DSMU in here. This was an Model United Nation event organized by me and more than half of the people that you saw in our Briddhi team picture. So that was where I firstly got to work with these people. And DSMUN was also like my first organizing Model UN organizing event as a DSG. So that was really a place where I learned a lot about um, the different things that come to just starting an initiative and working on it tirelessly. And it also gave me the people with whom I later came on to work together for Briddhi. The second thing I mentioned is the virtual edition. So after the pandemic started, there were a few online Model United Nations happening in our country itself, and we decided to take DSMU into an online form as well. And when we did that, this time the exposure was so much more because of the removal of physical barriers, and we got to know people from all around the world, from so many different places. And while doing that, we also came in contact with like people from different countries, people of my age and younger, who have their own initiatives, who have been working on like their own ideas and things that they are passionate about to make a change. So these were the youth organizations that we got exposed to, which also made me and like my team members think that, wow, that's really cool. I think like we maybe we can do something like that too. And that was kind of the first process of us starting to think like, should we do something? The first process of us wanting to start an initiative was when we got exposed to others, and we saw that it was actually possible, and it was a great way for us to share the message that we want. I like saw one of the participants that we had in that Model United Nations who loved coding. So what he did was he started to have classes every evening for his friends to teach them coding. And I had another friend of mine who had a real passion for like spreading the message of climate action, and she started a community based workshop in her own community to talk to the elders of that community about their role in climate change and how they can reduce like any harm that they are doing to the climate. So seeing all of these different kinds of activities was also how Briddhi was like kind of begun. The idea of it was put in our head. And the pandemic, because firstly, two reasons. The first was that there were a lot of news coming up during the pandemic, maybe because we were more interested in the news during the pandemic and because we didn't have a lot to do. We saw a lot of news, especially in Nepal, about a lot of discrimination happening, a lot of people facing like social exclusion and being bashed for just being themselves and being their community. And the other was and that is how like the message that we wanted to share through Briddhi, which is a message of inclusivity, was came along. And the other thing about the pandemic was that uh, we realized that everyone was on their phones all the time. They were on social media all the time. So why not use that time that everyone is using on social media to put our message of inclusivity out there too? So that is how we all of these different things came together and helped us just think about starting Riddhi. And that was the beginning for us. For you, the beginning can be anything. You can Inspiration is something that you can find in the smallest of things to the largest of life changing of things. So you can just start up with whatever whatever experience you have had. Try to add up to that thing that inspired you and see how you can like create, how you can bring the thing that inspired you to uh, a platform where it can also help other people to understand it better. The other is the setup. So after that, we knew that we wanted to do something. After all of those exposures and all of those experiences, we knew that we together wanted to do something, but we didn't really know how to do it yet. So for that, we gave ourselves a lot of time to brainstorm. We spent about around 2 weeks, just 2 months, just to think about like the basics of what it was going to be. And these were like the basic things that we focused on first before starting the before like making the initiative public and actually starting to work on it. So we gave ourselves time to think about the agenda, the form of content, the short run planning, and the long run objective. So for the agenda, we already knew that we wanted to do something about spreading message about discrimination being bad, because that was one of the news circulating during the pandemic that caught our attention and that wanted us to start this initiative. So we knew we wanted to do that, but we needed to have a definitive agenda about how we want to move forward. For that, we chose our agenda. We brainstormed a lot. All of these processes required a lot of brainstorming. So we brainstormed a lot, and about after like a week, we came up with the agenda of spreading a message of positivity and inclusivity. And okay, we want to share that message, but how do we do it? And this deciding on the form of content was probably one of the most hardest things that we did during like the setup process of Briddhi, because there were just so many options. There were too many options that we didn't know what would be right for us. We thought about podcasts. We thought about YouTube page. We thought about starting a blog or a newspaper column. But after like all of the brainstorming and thinking about the consequences of us choosing each content, the time that would be required, the logistical requirement that would be required, we decided that Instagram page and Facebook page right now for would be the most feasible and accessible option for us. So we decided on the form of content to be an Instagram page. And then uh, we had a place to put our things to share our message, but how do we want to share it? So to make sure that we don't get distracted, to make sure that we know what we are doing, we set ourselves a short run planning and a long run objective. We didn't want to have a year long plan on the first day, because there are many things that keep changing in between the process, and we want to make sure that we are updated in each of that. So we gave ourselves a long run objective which we wanted to reach by the end of a year, but then our planning was focused on a month's time. So we gave ourselves the time to plan for a month, and like as soon as that month was about to be over, we gave ourselves the time and a meeting to discuss the plans for another month. So that is kind of how we have been going on. We have a monthly based planning, and for our short run planning for the very first month, our focus was um, it was very much focused on promoting our page, and it was very much focused on uh, like trying to put out content that would actually show what we are trying to do for the first month, because that would be the way that our audience and our target group knows us. So we wanted to make sure that we put on the right message. And with that short run planning and long run objective, we worked on it. We started the process to reach our long run objective, for which for us was to make Briddhi a new identity for growth. And within that, we also had like sub objectives for ourselves that can help us guide us through the way. Like, and I think this is a very, very important thing when talking about any initiative, any plan, because without an objective for the long run, there are so many things in the path, in like the way, that can mislead you, that you can be distracted with. But having that long run objective that you want to achieve by the end of a certain time, that will always keep you like focused on the goal and help make your initiative even better. The other thing as I was talking about was the process of actually working. So once we had decided on everything, the first thing for us to make this an actual real platform was to set up our Instagram page. So we did that and we promoted our page, and we hoped that it would reach our audience. Talking about the processes, I'll also talk about the struggles that we have faced in each one, because there are always struggles when starting something. So our struggle with setting up the page and promoting it was that, firstly, we had thought that we'll promote our page, and after it has reached a certain number of people, we will post our first content, because that will make our reach like larger. But we were wrong about that, because we had not let our audience really know what our initiative was when we were like starting the project. So we fixed that mistake by posting a description rather than our content itself, and that definitely helped boost up our promotion than before. And it helped it helped our audience to know what we were actually going to do in the later uh, in the later months, so that helped them trust us more. And then after we had set up like our page, and we had let people know about what we were going to do, we had to decide on the content and schedule. Deciding on the content was not very hard, because we knew what we were doing. We just had to divide the things about how we want to share the message. We wanted to share a huge message, but there is not like one way for us to say all of that in like the first go. So we divided the message that we want to share into different parts. We decided that we would post twice a week, and schedule is something that we struggled with because we had content, but we realized that just to finalize it and be confident in what we are posting, we delayed a day or two, and that was not really working in our favors. And we are still working on, making that schedule correct and making sure that we do everything on time. So there are different things that come when you are talking about starting and running an initiative, an organization, whatever it is. Like, the need for you to be punctual and for you to actually be dedicated is really, really important. So that was our decision on the content that we would post and the schedule that we made for ourselves. And uh, the short run planning that we talked about earlier, that was when we also decided on the kind of content that we wanted to post. And the other thing is networking was something that helped us throughout, like, and has been helping us throughout right now as well. um, we reached out to our friends to promote our page first of all, but then second of all, since our like goal was to share messages from the perspective of people who have actually faced it, it could not just be us, like the organizing team of Britti to write the content ourselves. We had to highlight the story of other people. So in that as well, we reached out to people. And remember the networking that I talked about that I got through Model United Nations. That has been really helpful for me because in every experience you take part in, you go there, you meet people who think alike because you're all there for a similar reason. And whenever you're doing something else in the future, you can always refer to them. And that is a really, really great thing about networking, not just through Model United Nations, but through any events, any conferences, any webinars, and even this summit itself. So that has really helped us out in the process of setting up Britti and getting it to where it is now. And talking about how we have been working until now, there are certain like things that we have been doing. The first one is we, as I said, our like form of content is Instagram like posts. So for that, we have been focusing on topics of social event, topics of social and political trend, and we have themes that we decide on to divide the content that we are posting. So we are posting an artwork and a writing regularly. um, the other thing is organizing interactive stories on special occasions and events. So there have been, a few disputes going around, a few like breaking news going around, and people always have opinions regarding these things. And especially when these are related to culture and related to like social and community based discriminations and stuff like that, we host like sessions with interactive stories. We ask questions to our audience and ask them to give their opinion on that matter, and we share their opinion in our following stories, because our idea again is not like imposing our perspective and our views on anyone, but to share the different opinions that people might have on various things. And the other thing that we have been doing is hosting programs on days of special importance. We have been hosting live programs. There are Zoom webinars. This picture in itself is an example. We hosted a live session on Facebook on World Mental Health Day. We called in one high school counselor as our guest speaker, and then we asked our audiences to send in any questions that they might have through a Google Doc. And then we hosted a live session where we discussed the questions and experiences that they shared. And these kind of events are really well received by our audiences. We did a similar thing on International Youth Day as well. So these are the kind of things that we have been doing. And to increase our content, to make it more engaging, we have been
Well, participants, it seems as though our presenter might have some internet issues or some technical issues. So if you could please bear with us for a few minutes and we'll try to get everything back on track. Thank you for your patience.
Hi, I just realized that I got disconnected. I'm so sorry for that. Can
Yeah,
you
no
guys hear me
problem.
now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Just
Can you tell me where I got disconnected?
oh, like around 10 seconds ago. So do you remember where you were then? Yeah, I think there.
All right, so this all right. All right, great. So I was talking. Do you like? I hope you guys remember the activity that I reflection activity that I started in like the beginning of the presentation. So right now I want to start a brainstorming session where you can refer back to that or refer back to a completely different thing. It doesn't matter, but this brainstorming session has to be about uh, something that has inspired you, a message that has inspired you, how you want to share it, or what platform do you think would be feasible for you to help share that message to inspire more people, and how you want to do it. In the brackets are the answers that would be for our initiative Briddhi. So the message, what for us would be a message of inclusivity, or where for us would be through social media, Instagram and Facebook page specifically, and the how would be making posts to share inspiring stories of people. So if you guys can just think about it, let's have 5 minutes for that. If you guys can just think about it and write that in the chat section, then admin members, I would just like to request you to recognize a few of the answers and we'll move forward with the presentation. If you didn't understand the question, you can like ask in the chat section or unmute yourself once, and then I will just repeat it or make it uh, like explain it more clearly.
Abhishu, I think could you please rephrase the question? I think some people are having difficulties.
All right, so the uh, activity is for you to think about one thing that you want to share with other people, one message that you want to share with other people to hopefully inspire them. It can be about anything, it can be about one of the SDGs or just anything in general. And how you want to share that message, uh, in what platform do you think it would be most feasible for you to share that message, and how would you want to share that message? Like if you choose a certain platform, if you choose podcast for example, then would you like to have interview sessions, or would you like to have panel discussions in that podcast? So what are the kind of things that you would want to do once you have decided like where you want to do it? So firstly, the message that you want to send, secondly, where you want to send that message, and thirdly, how you want to send that message. I hope it's clear now. Right. I'm not sure if the question was confusing or whether it was so thought provoking that it is taking you guys time to think about it, but no problem, you guys can think about it still. It's just so for your reflection, for you guys to take away something from this session, and use it in your own thinking, in any ideas that you might have on your own. um, so I will just begin with the presentation, and we can, if you have any like answers, we can feature them in the question answer session as well. Is that okay, admins?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
All right, great. Thank you so much. So, with like the things that you think about and think initiative that you think about starting, there are a few tips that I would like to share from my experiences. Um, because this presentation was based on taking inspiration from other things and trying to share that, the one common mistake that happens while trying to do this is, while you try to take reference from other people and their ideas, it sometimes becomes like a copy of their idea, and that is not something you want to do. Any initiative should have like its own originality, and for that, some tips that have helped me and hopefully could help you are, firstly, focus on the reason why it inspired you rather than what inspired you. So, uh, if the example that I gave about the community workshop for climate action, if that is something that can inspire you, then why did it inspire you? Was it because the girl was working on something related to the SDGs? Was it because she was helping her community, or was it because she was, like, targeting a certain group of people that was the elders of the community? So try to focus on the reason why something inspired you, and how do you want to implement that reason in your initiative as well. So do you want to do the same kind of workshop, or do you want to maybe give out pamphlets to them, or try to think of other ways in which you can retain that same, like, thing that inspired you, but do it in your own, or do it with your own twist. The other thing is brainstorm with more ideals and less references. So what I mean by this is, when we are trying to take inspirations and hoping to meet a certain standard, we take a look at other people who have been doing it, and we try to think maybe how much reach has that person received. I want to reach that reach. I want to be on that same level of reach. Or uh, how many people has that person brought in to their like organization? I want to bring that many people. So these kind of ideals, these kind of references that you like, these kind of ideals that you take from others example will set a standard for yourself. However, if you take like the exact numbers that they have, and the exact kind of data that they have, and try to reach that, try to uh, do exactly as they are doing, there are chances that you dull down your own creativity, and there are chances that you will not give yourself as much, like, you will not give your own ideas as much credit as theirs, and that will just again make your work like theirs and not yours. So try to brainstorm with more ideals and try to take as much reference of others work as possible. The other thing is, startup will never look like an established enterprise, and it takes time. And this is something that everyone needs to come in terms with, that as soon as you start something, it's not going to be the greatest in that like area, in that sector. There's going to be a lot of time for you to work on it to make it come to the level that you want. And for that, you need to have dedication and you need to have the patience. So you should not be discouraged if like you have a certain less reach on your blog post this month. Maybe another month you might have more. You just need to focus on the reason why it was less, and try to work on it and try to make it better for the upcoming like events and contents. The other thing is, don't invalidate any idea. Keep shuffling between them. Especially in like our model of working with Briddhi, as I said, we have like a monthly process of planning. And in that, something that I have noticed is, something that we planned for previous week, previous month, we decided to scrap that plan. That is something that will be helpful, like in the kind of event that we are hoping to conduct for the next like month. So don't scrap any ideas. There's a reason why you thought about it, so write it down, note it down somewhere, and refer back to it when you are like thinking about future events or future ideas. That will really help a lot. The Another one of the most important is keep yourself educated, updated, and motivated. There are a lot of times when you might feel like, why am I even doing this? But remember the reason, like why you started it, and keep yourself motivated regarding that. There are a lot of technologies that are being updated every time. Like Zoom was half, more than half the population, 75% of the population probably didn't even know about Zoom before the pandemic. So there are like um, technological and all kind of developments happening at like every moment. So try to keep yourself updated and keep yourself educated regarding the kind of matters that you're focusing on. What are the developments that are happening, and how your content can reflect back to those developments or help in more developments. And with those, I think one of another like most important thing that I would like to end this presentation, the note that I would like to end this, is that a journey from getting inspired to inspiring others isn't one with a definitive timeline. Both of the processes can be happening simultaneously. So take any opportunity that you get to be inspired and to inspire. Don't miss out any opportunities where you think I could maybe learn something or I could maybe contribute something. Try to take on any of those that you get. Obviously, don't do all of it at once and not focus on each one of them. Try to give your focus, your time, and also your effort to every of the activities that you take part in, and try to learn something from that experience always. So that would be my workshop. Thank you guys so much for joining and listening to me. If you guys have any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Abhishu, for that wonderful presentation. If any of the participants have any questions, they can paste in the chat to be recognized by the admins.
Participants, if you have any questions whatsoever, please make sure to ask them now because we'll need to close the room very soon.
We have a question from Aida. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. The question is, do you think your inspirations can inspire your team?
All right, thank you. That's actually a great question, because for me, luckily, as I said, I happened to work with the team like from early on, and I knew that we shared similar interests. But there were also people that we added on the team later, which did not necessarily have like the same ideas for an initiative that we did. But I think with like that kind of situation, you can talk about the expectations that different people have, the why you are even working together. Because if you are a team, there's a certain thing that you're already working on, right? So why are you working on that already? What are the things that brought you together? And is that the same like reason that you're also like doing the further activities? If yes, then I think that is a great way to go. If not, then you can communicate your ideas about why a certain thing inspired you. Maybe uh, they will have similar feelings towards it, and if they don't, then I think that's really not helpful either to you or your team to work on something that you guys don't agree on. So just trying to communicate ideas and expectations that different people of the team have regarding whatever you're trying to work on. I think that can help that inspiration like reflect within all of them. And if it doesn't, then maybe it's not meant to be. I hope that answers your questions. Great, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
Um, Nupur from India says that they are 16 and have always aspired to become a philanthropist and motivational speaker, and they would like to know what is the issue that they would like to work. They know what the issue they would like to work on, but the question they always have in mind is what can a 16-year-old student do for a change? Because rather than thinking about the problem, they want to change it.
Yep, I think I can definitely like relate to this question. Nupur, I like absolutely understand what you're trying to say, because there is so much happening and there's so much you want to do, but you don't know where to start. And that is why, like I also mentioned before, about not letting that spark die. So whenever you have the spark to do something, just note it down and think about the different ways that you can do it. If it is something like, if it is a presentation session that you alone can hold, then try to do that. If it is something that requires more logistics, then try to reach out to people that you know who would maybe be interested in the same things. If they're not, then you'll know that they're not. But just if you don't reach out to people, then you wouldn't know who is interested and who isn't. So just try to like reach out to the people that you already know, to the friends that you have already, and people that you don't usually talk to, that you but you have seen them showing interest in the kind of things that you yourself are interested in. And about the question about becoming a philanthropist and motivational speaker, I would like to learn that too, but I think the start, like for that, for me, I myself also want to be a speaker and try to communicate my ideas to people. And like this was also a step that I took to go further in that wish that I have. So just try to take on opportunities where you feel like you can explore that side of yourself, and just take on those opportunities and go for it.
Okay, thank you so much, Abhishu, for that presentation and facility and answering the questions that the participants had. And thank you, participants, for tuning into this really inspiring and motivating presentation right here. So we're going to be wrapping it up, and you are all free to leave. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for attending and having me.
Thank you so much for this amazing presentation. I'm sure all the participants really enjoyed it. And well, participants, we hope that you enjoyed this session, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you everybody for participating. I'm going to be closing the room now as I have to open up for the next session. Bye everyone.